What's going on YouTube? Johnny here, back with another video. Hope everyone's been doing well. Today's video we're making cinnamon rolls, so with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the baking. Alright, and for the cinnamon rolls, for the ingredients, we have our milk, we have water, eggs, butter, sugar, salt, we have our flour in this one, and then in this last container is our yeast. And one of my favorite things about the cinnamon rolls is it's an all-day, you can have it all-day snack. You can have it for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Dessert too, so that's why I have a sweet tooth. If you guys know by now, if you don't know by now, now you do. And then also, first time cameo appearance on the channel, we have our lovely bread maker, and this thing is awesome. I love to make the dough, especially for the cinnamon rolls, in this machine. And also you can make bread in there, of course, because it's a bread maker. And we've made a couple of loaves in here, so if you're interested in seeing a bread video, let me know down in the comments below and we can do a video on that for you guys. All right, so the milk is going in first. All right, and here we go. All of the ingredients ready to be mixed up in the machine. All right, guys, so now that it's in the bread machine, and maybe we can show this side, but the cool thing about the bread machine is that it has all the different breads and even cake and all sorts of doughs that you can make. So we went ahead and programmed it to 8, which is dough. So then just to make sure, 8, and then all you do is just press start, and then in the machine, it is starting to work away. And I forgot to mention in the previous clip, right here is the timer, so we have about an hour and a half. Alright guys, so we had a slight change in plans. So yesterday is Saturday, and I started filming then. Long story short, the first batch of dough that we did up in the bread maker did not come out properly at all. So at first I thought it was the yeast. So I went to the store, got more yeast, came back home, and then started filming again on Sunday, the next day, which is today. And the same thing happened again. And it turns out that the bread machine is broken and busted. So that's the first and last appearance of that bread machine on the channel until we get a new one. So if you have any requests for bread videos, put that on pause for now until we get some new equipment in the activities with Johnny Kitchen. Because we won't be able to do that with the bread machine, so that's on pause. So it's been quite an adventure-filled weekend. But you know what? You got to roll with the punches. So here we have our plan. At this point, maybe D or E. So we're going to be making the dough now. So we have warm milk, and you don't want the milk. Well, as I dropped that almost. You don't want the milk to be too hot because it'll kill the yeast. So what we'll do, we'll add the yeast in like that. We have our sugar, we have our eggs right here, and then we have our melted butter right here. And then what we'll do is just mix this together before we add the flour in. All right, so this is what we're looking like right here with the wet ingredients including the sugar whisked together. So then in this bowl we have our flour and salt. So we'll just dump that in, and I've switched to the wooden spoon here, and then we'll just mix this around to incorporate everything, and this will start forming our dough. And then what we'll do is put it onto the mixer right here with our dough hook. Kind of turn that sideways, thank you. And then I'll see you guys then. All right, so this is after mixing together the flour into the wet ingredients. So we have that, so what we'll do, we'll put that onto the mixer, and we'll do this on a medium speed, probably for about 8 minutes or so. And what you want to do is just make sure that it really mixes together and incorporates, and you want to keep an eye on it, and that it'll come together in the bowl. And one thing to notice, if you keep an eye on it and it's becoming sticky, you can, if it's still sticking to the bottom, you can add a little bit of flour at one time, but you want to go in increments. And so I'm just paying close attention here because I could have saved a bunch of time paying attention to the bread machine because I didn't realize that the machine itself was not getting hot. So lesson learned, paying close attention to this, and we'll go ahead and keep an eye on the dough as it continues to do its thing. All right, so here is the dough, and it's looking good. So then now what we'll do for the first preparation, the next main step will be leaving the dough off to the side somewhere warm so it can rise. But what we'll do here for this bowl is just coat it in oil so that way the dough doesn't stick. And you don't want it drenched in oil or anything. And for the dough, what you want after mixing it in the mixer or the bowl, you just want to make sure it's something smooth like this, and see how it's not sticking? So that means it's good to go. So right here we have our bowl that's coated in enough oil. So we'll drop that in there. And then we have our saran wrap right here. And then we'll just go ahead and make sure that we rub the seam down like that, so that way it's nice and tight. And then we have our warm towel right here, which we nuked it in the dryer for a little bit. So that's a little helpful hint that you can do. So then we'll just cover that, and we'll go ahead and stick it in the oven. And while that's in the oven, just a couple of tips. First thing regarding the oven, our oven is not on, but what we did was preheat the oven for about 2 minutes on the lowest setting, because what you want is your dough to be in somewhere warm, not hot. It just has to be warm. And then you can always test it out and see. I don't want to open it now, but you can test it out and see if the oven is still too hot. You can crack it open and leave it open for a bit and let the heat kind of air out, so that way it's just a warm setting for it. Again, you do not want it to be hot. I know like an old school method or trick would be starting your dryer, turning your dryer on for about, again, 2-3 minutes, just letting it get nice and hot, warm. And then what you want to do is same thing with the oven. You can just crack the door open, let the hot air out, and that'll be a nice warm place for the dough. If you have, and key thing with that, make sure the oven's off, as well as do not start the dryer with the dough in the dryer. Might be a problem. And then if not, you can always find a warm place in your house, and leave it out covered with the plastic wrap and warm towel over that as well. And those are just a couple of helpful hints for you if you are ever making cinnamon rolls. And again, for the letting the dough rise in either the oven, warm dryer, whatever it is, that's for any dough. It doesn't have to be cinnamon rolls. It's just any dough that you are making that needs to rise. But as far as mixing, if you don't have a mixer like this or KitchenAid mixer, you can use a handheld mixer. You can even knead it manually with your own hands. I will recommend getting the protein powder ready for your protein shake, because that's quite the workout when you knead it. It can take some time. And then you want to keep an eye out for, again, if the dough is sticking. And if it is, when you are kneading or mixing, whatever it is, you want to add a little flour at a time. And it's about a tablespoon of flour per increment of when you're added in. So you'll add the flour, work it in, see how it's going, and just do adjustments as needed. And as far as rising time or time to rise, it really depends on the heat or the warmth of where you leave your dough to rise. But what I usually do is around the 1.5 hour mark is when I first start checking, and it could take up to 2 hours. Like I said, it really just depends on how warm your area is of where you set your dough. But yeah, that's that, and I will see you then. What I do, you don't necessarily have to do this. It's just one of my favorite things when making cinnamon rolls is to do a bottom layer of butter and brown sugar, and that just adds a little bit more sweetness, and it's like, one of the best parts of the cinnamon rolls for me. So melted butter, we'll just pour that out. And again, this is one of my favorite parts about the cinnamon rolls. It's just nice, sweet, buttery layer, and as cameraman likes it too. Nice and crunchy. The list goes on. So then what we'll do here is we'll just grab the brown sugar and we'll sprinkle it all over like this. And here's that layer of that sweet crunch. And for the big reveal of our dough, here's what we're looking at. Boom. Looks cool. That's what I'm talking about. Nice and fluffy. So we'll set that off to the side for a second. And then over here, we have our filling, which is a mixture of cinnamon and white sugar. And then what we'll do, since we'll have to roll out the dough, is I'll just take a little spoonful of flour, sprinkle that around. And then what you want to do is you just kind of want to roll it around and get it nice and covered in the flour. Okay, that's flat. And then again, take a little pinch, rub that around, and then we'll just start working it in and rolling out the dough. So I'll go ahead and work on the dough and finish that up, and I'll see you in the next bit. And here's what we're looking at right now. So this is good. And then what I'll do is I'll just take some butter like this. And I know some people will use melted butter, but just the way I was taught by the cameraman is just taking some soft butter and just massaging it in. And then what we'll do is just leave a little bit. So we won't go entirely to the edge. We'll just leave a little bit around a perimeter around the entire dough for the cinnamon rolls. So I'll go ahead and massage this butter in and get this a nice coating, and then I'll see you in the next bit. We'll go ahead and sprinkle our little seasoning of butter and brown sugar. And here we go. Here's the final layer of the sugar and cinnamon. And the cameraman informed me of the verbal typo that I had in the last clip. The mixture or the sprinkle was, I accidentally said sugar or cinnamon and butter or something like that, but it is sugar and cinnamon. And for this bit, what we'll do is begin to start rolling our cinnamon rolls. So then you want to start with the edge like that. And then once you get in, you'll pinch and tuck. And just continue to roll, pinch, tuck, roll, pinch, tuck. And if the edges are sticking out a bit, you can just kind of pinch and tuck those in, just like that. And then, boom. And that's that. And what I did was, I already measured out. So we're making 6 big cinnamon rolls. So I just measured out where I will be threading them. Because there's multiple ways that you can do this. You can use, I would say a serrated knife is best because you kind of want to make sure that it really cuts through and saws through the dough for the cinnamon rolls. Old school way right here. Thanks, cameraman, for the old school lesson. We're using thread. So what we'll do, oh, great call. Another one that you can also do is floss, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Floss. All right. So yeah, multiple ways that you can make cinnamon rolls and multiple tools for you to use. But what we'll do is you'll slide under like this and then come to our little marker right here. Make sure it's even because the thread can slide around a little bit. And then boom. And you see, it may take me a little bit just to make sure I'm right on line. There we go. And then what you do is just pull through. Sliding off my hand because the flour on my hand, and then boom. So that's that. I'll go ahead and finish up the rest, and I'll see you in the next bit. And here we go. And a cool little thing, you can see the layering of the cinnamon roll with our cinnamon and sugar filling. And I've placed the cinnamon rolls in our pan right here. And then what I'll do is just push them down a little bit, and then we'll cover it with saran wrap, towel, and then place that in the oven again. And again, just like when we set the dough in there, you want the oven to be warm, not hot, for it to rise and just kind of widen out at the same time and really fluff and fill up. Thank you. And that'll probably be about 30-ish minutes, so we'll keep an eye on that, and then I'll see you then. And for a secret little tip or trick that we like doing, not everybody does this, but we take cream, we warm it up a bit, and then you just pour it over each one just a little bit. And then with this, it's hard to explain, but it just really elevates the taste and the flavor of the cinnamon roll. So if you haven't tried it before, I recommend you definitely give it a try. Cameraman, do you have any words pertaining to or regarding our...
No, I like it.
That's that. Simple and straightforward. So it's time to put them in the oven. So here we go. One final look before they start to bake. And what we did, we preheat our oven to 350. And we'll probably keep it in there for around 30 minutes, but we'll probably check it at around, well, I'll check it out around the 25-minute mark. And you just want to be careful because everybody's oven and kitchen gear runs at different temperatures. So you just want to keep an eye on it, and it'll be nice and golden and brown. So that'll be the signal for that it's time to go. So I will see you then. Looking good. Looking good. Now we're just letting them cool before we start working on the icing, and because you don't want to put icing on the cinnamon rolls when it's really hot. And yeah, so they're looking good, but I noticed there's a piece missing right here. And lo and behold, it was a cameraman.
I was testing.
Yeah, okay.
Q&A.
Yeah, but yeah, pretty happy how they turned out. So we'll go ahead and get started on the icing in the next bit. And what?
Some of them.
That's all right. I mean, yeah, some of them a little lopsided, but that's all right. Still has nothing to do with the taste, right? It may look a little wonky or whatever, but guarantee it'll taste good, so that's all that matters. And while the cinnamon rolls are cooling off to the side, I'm working on the glaze. And usually we do a cream cheese frosting, but one, since the cinnamon rolls are big, and then two, since we did a lot of butter and sugar as that crust on the bottom of the pan, we don't want it to be too rich. So that's why we're just keeping it with a simple glaze of just powdered sugar and milk. So then what you can do is, when working on this, you can just add milk to the sugar and stir it until you get to the consistency that you prefer. And again, you do not want to put the glaze onto the cinnamon rolls while they are hot. All right, it is time. And as you guys can see here, the damage has been done on this one. The cameraman went back for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know how many snack breaks, but there was a couple. So anyway, we have this one. So what we'll do, we'll just take a spoonful like that, and we'll just drizzle around like that and let that do its thing. I'll go ahead and finish up the rest of the cinnamon rolls. And for the final presentation, here's what we got. Alright guys, and that concludes today's video. As always, thank you so much for stopping by, tuning in, and supporting me in the channel. Don't forget to click like, subscribe, and hit that notification button so you don't miss when I upload a video. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video of the cinnamon rolls. Like I said, it's one of my favorite snacks and treats because you can have it for breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert, and even a midday snack as well. So, but I hope you guys have a great upcoming week. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.